We're unpacking one of the most fascinating technological tools out there right now. We're talking about Claude. But listen, we aren't just going to show you how to type a simple prompt.
Exactly. Think about it like this. Imagine a brand new, wildly complex piece of heavy machinery just dropped onto a factory floor. An engineer would never just walk up to it, blindfolded, mash a few buttons, and hope for the best, right? They have to understand the mechanics. Well, opening Claude and treating it like a basic chatbot is literally operating heavy machinery blindfolded. Once you understand what it actually is under the hood, how you use it completely changes.
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're doing a 6-part anatomical deep dive. First up, meet the Claude assistant. Number 2, inside the transformer brain. 3, constitutional AI. 4, the context window memory. 5, the model family. And finally, 6, real-world use cases and limits.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Meet the Claude Assistant.
So as we just hinted at, Claude is not just some simple chatbot. It's a highly complex artificial intelligence system. It was developed by a company called Anthropic, which actually has a super interesting backstory. They were founded back in 2021 by former OpenAI researchers, and they didn't leave over technical disagreements, they left over philosophical differences. They firmly believe that AI safety has to be the absolute #1 priority as these systems get more powerful.
The technical term for Claude is a large language model, or LLM. Simply put, this is a system trained on billions of words to internalize language structure, context, and the relationships between concepts probabilistically. But okay, that definition is pretty dry.
Yeah, a bit dense. So let's use a relatable analogy. Think of Claude like a master jazz musician. A jazz musician spends years reading sheet music, practicing, and listening to all the greats. When you ask them to improvise a melody, they don't just rigidly follow a grammatical rulebook. They play based on deep internalized patterns and intuition. Claude works the exact same way, just with text. Like a jazz pro, Claude calculates the most probabilistically beautiful next note, or word, based on the context of the entire song.
Moving right along to Section 2, Inside the Transformer Brain.
This foundational architecture was actually introduced by Google researchers back in 2017 in a really famous paper called Attention is All You Need. That single breakthrough is what makes modern AI systems like Claude even possible today.
We call this the Transformer Architecture. It's a framework that evaluates every single word in relation to all other words in a text to capture precise meaning and context.
Right, and this perfectly explains how Claude understands nuance. Think about the word bank. If you use it in a sentence about a river, it means something entirely different than if you use it in a sentence about money. The transformer architecture lets Claude look at all the surrounding words to capture that precise context instantly. It literally never reads a word in isolation.
To get that smart, the model goes through a massive 2-step learning process. Step 1 is pre-training. Here, the model is fed vast amounts of internet text, books, code, you name it. Its whole job is just guessing missing words. Through this giant guessing game, it builds world knowledge and language structure. Then comes Step 2, fine-tuning. This is where human feedback aligns that raw model to make it helpful, harmless, and honest. The distinction here is super important. Pre-training gives it the raw knowledge, while fine-tuning actually shapes how it behaves.
Which leads us right into Section 3, Constitutional AI. This is where Anthropic's unique philosophical approach really shines. They operate on the core belief that safety cannot just be a patched-on afterthought. It has to be a foundational design feature from day one.
Usually, AI companies rely on rigid banned word lists to keep things safe. But the problem is, lists are super fragile. They're never complete, and users figure out ways around them instantly. So Anthropic took a totally different route. They designed Claude to use self-critique against core principles to develop actual good judgment. Think of it like training a human. Claude evaluates its own outputs, checks them against its constitution, and revises its answers. It develops real ethical reasoning instead of just blindly avoiding a list of prohibited topics.
Anthropic sums this up beautifully. They call it, quote, not a list of restrictions, but integrated ethical agency.
And this matters deeply for you as the user. When you're navigating nuanced or ethically great questions, Claude doesn't just hit a wall and shut down. It evaluates the context, it balances conflicting principles, and it actually tries to give you a thoughtful, appropriate response.
All right, let's shift gears to Section 4, the context window memory.
In the AI world, a model's working memory for a single conversation is technically called the context window. It dictates exactly how much information Claude can process and hold in its mind at one time.
200,000. That's the massive token limit for the context window in the Claude 3 family of models. To put that technical number into perspective, that means Claude can read, process, and remember roughly a 500-page book in one single sitting. No way, right? You can upload huge research reports, massive financial spreadsheets, or insanely long legal contracts, and Claude will remember the beginning of the document just as perfectly as the end. It completely changes the game for handling large datasets.
But there's a very critical boundary here. Claude's memory resets entirely with every new chat session.
That's right. Claude doesn't carry memory between conversations. It doesn't learn from your private prompts. Every single time you open a new chat, it's a complete blank slate. This is actually a deliberate technical choice by Anthropic, designed specifically to protect your privacy and keep your data totally secure.
Up to this point, we've talked about Claude as a single entity. But for Section 5, we need to meet the model family.
Exactly. Claude is actually a family of 3 distinct models, each tailored for entirely different needs. Selecting the right one is your quickest ticket to becoming a pro user.
So Claude is broken into 3 tiers. First up, Haiku. Haiku is lightning fast and the most cost-effective. It's perfect for simple, high-volume tasks where you need answers right now. Then we have Sonnet. Sonnet is your balanced default. It blends speed and capacity beautifully, which makes it ideal for everyday practical use. And finally, Opus. Opus is the heavy hitter. It's the most capable model in the family, though it does run a little slower. You want to bring in Opus for deep reasoning, highly complex analysis, and really detailed long-form writing. You basically just choose your model based on the complexity of your task and how fast you need it done.
This brings us to our final section, number 6, real-world use cases and limits.
This is where the rubber meets the road. We want to show you how moving from a casual user to an informed practitioner unlocks just massive professional value.
So Claude's core capabilities handle writing, step-by-step reasoning, coding, and heavy document analysis. Just to give you a real-world example, we've seen a consultant slash their weekly report writing time from 10 hours to literally 2 hours. They just upload messy data sets and let Claude do the heavy lifting of summarizing the trends. Oh, for sure. And in the tech space, software developers are using Claude as an interactive code review partner. They'll paste in hundreds of lines of legacy code, ask for weak points, and Claude not only spots the hidden bugs, but actually explains the underlying logic of the errors in plain English. It's wild.
Now, the most common question we get is how does this compare to ChatGPT? Well, let's look at it objectively. ChatGPT definitely offers a broader tool ecosystem. It has native image generation, voice plugins, browser extensions, the whole shebang.
Right, but the crucial point is that the true difference is in character. Claude excels in long-form nuance and navigating ethical gray areas. But most importantly, Claude is comfortable with uncertainty. It has the character to actually admit when it just doesn't know the answer. And that is incredibly valuable and trustworthy for deep research.
But we have to be completely impartial and talk about the limitations. First off, Claude doesn't have real-time internet knowledge by default. It operates on a strict knowledge cutoff date, so it won't know this morning's news unless you provide it. Second, there's always the risk of hallucinations. Like all large language models, Claude can occasionally generate incorrect information and do it with total convincing confidence. You absolutely must verify critical facts. And finally, as we mentioned earlier, it's a blank slate for every new chat and doesn't learn from your personal prompts. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. AI tools are undeniably a permanent fixture in the modern business landscape. But there's a massive, fundamental difference between simply using a tool and truly understanding it. Users might get a little efficiency bump, practitioners completely redesign their workflows.
So we want to leave you with this challenge. Are you just an AI user, or are you ready to use your new anatomical understanding of Claude to become a true AI practitioner? Thanks so much for exploring this with us. We'll catch you next time.